Looks like we're live. What's happening, everybody? I hope everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. If you are new to the channel, thank you so much for stopping by. I am B Mason, and I will be your host for Two Wheel Tuesdays. Now, this channel is really not much more than a background noise generator. Most people have this thing on in their headphones while they're doing something far more interesting than whatever it is that I'm talking about, I can assure you. I know a lot of guys driving trucks and machinists and guys doing their yard work. That's typically what I will find as far as, you know, comments as far as what you're doing. But hey, let me know what you're up to while you are listening or watching or both the show. It's always kind of fun. Anyway, diving into it straight away. So, oh yeah, if you're new to the show and you find out that you like it, don't forget to like and subscribe. It means a ton, helps the channel grow. So Two Wheel Tuesday, I'm going to be talking about some of the middleweight naked bikes, and I've got some riding reviews that are coming up, and I want to talk about those bikes with you guys. So the whole point of having a live show is that I can interact directly with you guys. And if you're watching this live, definitely feel free to participate. It's also an opportunity, though, for me to kind of vet through upcoming videos, you know, the standalone videos. And sometimes those videos don't always pan out the way that you would like. And so I'll end up just carry on that conversation in a live, or it's a topic that I can't really put a video together that works well unless I've got some kind of interaction. So here's what I wanted to ask you guys. So I'm going to try to get my hands on the Hornet 750, and if I can, the GSX S 750 this week. I want to at least get one of them. The weather lately has been atrocious and spotty, really, more than anything else. So you think you got a friend in the weather, and then it just absolutely turns into a frog choker. And so that's been one of the things that's been bugging me. But the main thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, and this is kind of the video that just I could not put this together, but it's the middleweight sport naked segment. This is a real popular segment for bikes right now. Motorcycles like the GSX 8S. I'll also use GSX 8R in this because I do consider that really more of is it a sport naked? We'll go ahead and throw it in the mix. If nothing else, it's cousin or its sister, brother, whatever the GSX 8S is. But you also have the GSX S 750, which is a bit more to the point, a little bit higher spec. You've got the Hornet 750, which I will be doing a review hopefully this week on. These are the types of bikes that, MT-09 comes into play with this also. Z900 could kind of find itself, and this is the weird thing. This is where it started to get really, I don't know. It started to get a little bit weird. So when I was trying to put this video together, and I was talking about, well, where do you draw the line for middleweight when you start to talking about, how do I say this? When you start talking about the middleweight naked sport bike class, you almost have to separate it by power. You can't even separate it by displacement, because when you start to look at it, you've got bikes like the MT-09, which I guess would sit at the very top of the food chain when it comes to the middleweight sport naked class, right? But that bike making 117 horsepower, well, the performance envelope isn't that much removed from the Hornet, even though the Hornet is only making about 92, 94 horsepower. In a world where 15 horsepower is like night and day. You remember, you have to multiply the number by 6 if you want to compare it to like a 400 horsepower car in a 4,000 pound vehicle, right? Or a 400 horsepower engine in a 4,000 pound vehicle. The rule of thumb is just multiply the difference by 6, and that'll give you an idea. But it's bikes like those that are so popular. The MT-07, the Yamaha sells every one of those bikes that they make. And well, it just would go to, it would fall in line with logic, right? I mean, the bikes they perform really well, but they're not overwhelming. Their gearing is more aggressive given the amount of power that they have. So they feel stronger than they really are. Their riding position is much more upright, so they're a little bit more wheelie happy, which can also make them more fun. Plus, without having all the plastics, they're cheaper to insure. And on top of that, without having all the plastics, you're just not absolutely just, I don't know, goaded into hauling ass, if you will. So most of the fun on these bikes, I guess you could say, is had under 100 horsepower. So 100, under 100 miles per hour, and you're all almost under 100 horsepower. Anyway, this was kind of the way I was trying to put that video together. And I mean, I was just falling all over myself. Just tripping, I should say, all over myself. So anyway, let me check in with you guys before I get too deep. DM is in. Oh, I got the bald guy with the flex and the specs. I like it. Sam is in. Yo, Hard Rock's in watching Top Fuel. I like it. Loving him some Antron Brown. Antron Brown is amazing. Saying, Tool Tuesday. Well, that it is. DM saying, Ed, all right. It's all good. I saw Drag Boost the other night. It moved. The other day it moved. Man, I'd say, and then Tim's checking in from Australia, my man. Say it's 12:40 p.m. lunchtime. I like it. Say it's lunchtime on Wednesday over here. Have you bought a Busa yet, man? I tell you what. So here's the thing. To answer the question directly, no. But see, here's the thing. Would you rather buy the cow or just have the milk for free? That gray bike hasn't sold yet. And if it's not raining and I'm doing a riding review, believe me, I'm grabbing the keys to the Busa. I'll tell you what, if I could afford one, if I could afford any of them, I would. That black one or the gray one is awesome. There's a black one, a brand new one on the showroom floor that I always end up, gravitating towards. I'll say this, of the bikes that I've ridden lately, the funny thing about the Busa is that it's kind of a do everything kind of bike for me. Oh, by the way, it is 9:45 in the PM on Tuesday here in beautiful Houston, Texas. Cheers. But no, it's kind of crazy. There's two bikes that I really have kind of fallen in love with a little bit, and through no fault of my own, of course. So the first one I kind of fell in love with was the V-Strom 800. I mean, look, you guys know I liked the GSX 8R. I like that bike a lot, but the problem is that engine, the 776 twin, is such a good engine in the V-Strom. It almost like it fits that bike better. And okay, I'm going to say something, and I'm probably going to have to eat my words. Of all of the parallel twins, including my Bonneville, the 776 that is in the V-Strom, the GSX 8S, and the GSX 8R is probably in the top 2 or 3 of the parallel twins that I've ridden. I haven't ridden the Hornet yet. The only downside to that engine for a sport naked bike or for the GSX 8R, I don't even know what you call that thing, but neat motorcycle though. But anyway, the only downside to it is it makes all of its just snort way before 8,000 RPM. You hit 8,000 RPM and you might as well shift. Now, there's a lot of shove below 8,000 RPM, and it makes for a very fun bike. But you know what it really makes for? It makes for an amazing middleweight sport utility bike in the V-Strom, because that thing off-road would be a flipping riot with that engine, at fire roads and things like that. So I got to thinking like, okay, well, so it's as sweet as a nut, but the problem is it's just limited in its ability to put power down. And in this world, you kind of need that. especially when you start to compare it to other bikes that are in the field. Namely, well, let's just talking about the Sport Nakeds. Let's talk about that Hornet. But you also have to look at the Transalp, because the Transalp also has the 750 parallel twin. But that engine, I haven't ridden it yet, but I do know enough about these two bikes to realize that Transalp / Hornet, I think that Hornet is going to be better suited to that engine than the Transalp. So I'm hoping we'll see. I guess where I'm trying to go with this is, when you're looking at these bikes and you ride them enough, you start to get this sense of, man, I really like this bike, but if it only had these characteristics. And the only bike that I always just said, I really like this bike, full stop, was the V-Strom 800. The same kind of goes for the Busa. This is the weird thing with that bike. So, and I can't really explain it, but you get on the thing and you look at it and you sit on it in a showroom, and it feels like you're straddling a jet ski, like a jet ski for 3. I'm not talking about one of these little motorcycles. I'm talking about real talk, family-sized jet ski, okay? But then you sit on it in the parking lot, and for whatever reason, everything just kind of gets reprogrammed. And when I rode that bike, it went from feeling like I was riding the motorcycle equivalent of like a crew cab long bed F250 to, man, this bike is kind of, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And so in terms of being surprised by a bike, by how much I ended up liking it, especially considering what I had my preconceived notions of coming into riding the Hayabusa, man, I got to tell you, that's the bike that actually, for me, just hit a completely different switch. So much so that, I mean, I really could, if, again, and the Hayabusa is at the top of the totem pole when it comes to how much money something's going to cost, right? So here's the funny thing. I did basically buy a GSXR 1000 and a GSXR 750 for what a Hayabusa would have cost, in essence. And that's kind of I'm just going, if I could just, I guess I'd need to find like a Gen 2, like somebody's, granddad's or dad's Gen 2 Hayabusa that he always just left stock and only rode it, to go get coffee with his buddies. And he just decides one day, man, I just don't want it. And his kids don't want it. And he sells it cheap on Marketplace. I think that's the only way I'm ever going to get my hands on a Hayabusa, but I'll tell you what, it is such a good bike though. And I know a lot of folks talk about the Gen 3s as, they don't have as big a camshafts, and so they don't have the potential to make the same kind of peak power. Man, look, fine. For me, give me a Gen 3, because that 2022 that I've been riding, that's a Gen 3. And guys, I'm telling you, okay, and I've said this before, but if you guys, any of the new guys that might be on here watching, when on the Hayabusa, there's that right-hander that leads me back onto the freeway, and I'm fanning through the gears on that thing, and I'm shifting at about 8,500 RPM, right in just that sweet spot of the power curve on that bike. And